2009, the Special Investigating Unit made findings on Bosasa's contracts with the Department of Correctional Services. The SIU recommended prosecution, but up until today, Bosasa still has lucrative contracts with the department. ENCA discovered this during an investigation into the current state of affairs. Meanwhile, 3 witnesses have told the Zondo Commission how the company bribed its way into those deals. SIU Chief Governance Officer Advocate Mahlodi Muofhe joins us now. Good evening, Advocate. Thanks very much for your time.
Good evening.
Do you know what happened to those set of recommendations that you gave to the Department of Correctional Services back in 2009 after you handed the reports over to them?
Yes, we know that nothing happened after handing those reports to them, which was a bit bad, really, because the purpose of our investigations, we investigate, and after investigating, we actually make recommendations with remedial action, if any, which must be taken. And you know that our reports, we hand them to the President, and the President releases them to the affected departments and state-owned entities, you know, with all those remedial actions. And unfortunately, because we don't have the powers, for example, that the public protector has, then once handed those reports, the departments sit in the past on those reports. Yeah.
Do you know what happened in this particular instance?
Well, that report, we handed it to the then accounting officer of DCS, 2009. I think it was the acting commissioner, Ms. Jenny Schreiner, and she was the acting she was the accounting officer at the time. So, post handing those reports, we didn't know what happened to that report, and at the same time, I mean, we equally handed the report where we were recommending criminal prosecution to some of the people who are basically implicated now at the State Zondo Commission for criminal prosecution. You would recall that last year we issued a statement that there were almost around 686 matters that were referred to the NPA which were not acted upon. But I think it's good to say now that we have since established a good working relationship with all our sister criminal investigating entities. So open communications lines have been opened. So our teams and their teams have been working together to ensure that those cases are basically looked into. And of course, the NPA has got the final decision to make, either to prosecute or not to prosecute at least.
Well, I mean, that would scare a lot of people because, I mean, Angelo Agritz has revealed that the company deleted, what, 40,000 documents that are implicating, you know, executives and other people. Now, if then you are saying that departments or state entities do nothing about the reports that you give to them, if you are saying the other shortcoming is the fact that you don't have the power to enforce remedial action, which is what the public protector has, for example, then it means there's little hope, you know, that what has come through from the testimonies at the Zondo Commission will in fact be dealt with. And that's notwithstanding the good, cordial, working relationships that you're talking about with other law enforcement agencies.
There is so much hope because our head of the unit, Advocate Matibi, came up with a new strategy now, which we are implementing. And in that strategy, we now go back to the departments where those reports have been handed to find out what have they done, what are they doing with those reports.
But the law doesn't give you that. The law doesn't give you that power.
Well,
you depend on the goodwill of whoever is
not
in
necessarily
charge.
now, because added to that, President Ramaphosa, when he releases those reports to the affected departments and state-owned entities as well, I mean, he informs them that he wants to know when are they going to implement the SIU remedial action reports. So at least we are a bit covered. And I think since the coming in at the SIU of Advocate Mutibi, there is that stability as well. And also even departments are beginning to realize that at least, the SIU strikes in the sense that if they don't implement our reports, we go back. For example, the things which were said at the Zondo Commission, the issue that your team now investigated and realized that Bosasa has contracts, illegal contracts, I must say. We have, also have been interacting with the DCS, basically telling them that they've got to blacklist Bosasa. And remember,
what has been their response?
Well, I'm just saying, in this recent times, we're engaging, but the other good thing, Vuyo, is that we are the only entity which has the right to institute civil action on in our own right, in our own name. So we are looking closely at these running contracts which are illegal at Bosasa with the view of setting them aside at some point. Of course, we need to be mindful of the fact that much as they are unlawful, those contracts, they are also rendering a service to vulnerable people who are incarcerated. So there are a whole lot of things that we must take into account. But our team of forensic lawyers and investigators are hard at work now, ensuring that we need to cure all these ills which have been happening in the past.
That's where we're going to leave it for tonight. Thanks very much for coming through. SIU Chief Governance Officer, Advocate Mahlodi Muofhe.